On December 7th, 1726, Mary Toft confessed to manually inserting dead rabbits inside of herself and allowing them to be removed as though she birthed them.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to perform an autopsy?
Ever wanted to know how accurate your favorite crime drama is?
If you're brave enough,
Join us inside the morgue. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Morgue. We are your hosts and your favorite pathology duo, Jess and Alice. That's Jess, or that I don't know where Jess is on my screen, but I'm looking
That's
at
Alice.
Right ahead. Yeah, today we are in for really fun isn't the right word. Minisode. But if you haven't heard of this lady, like I had not until Jess presented this story to me, like it was something like everybody grew up knowing. You're in for a treat, like I was yesterday at work. We decided we wanted to do a deep dive on an old medical anomaly. Turns out not to be a medical anomaly, actually, but we're going to be exploring the story of Mary Toft. We'll get into that in just a moment. Before we do that, hey, Terry, where can the good people find you if they want to start a podcast with Young Junk?
Hey, folks, sometimes you think, man, I'd love to start a podcast, and we got a place for you to go. It's called Young Junk, and it is exactly where Alice is sitting, and we have a great time here. We could hook you up with your own show. Just have it be about something other than morgues, and we have a spot for you.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for the shout out. Inside the Morgue is one of our favorite programs, and we love hosting them. Godspeed, ladies.
We pay him to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Jess, would you like to start us?
Absolutely.
On this story that Jess presented? She's like, oh my God, we can just talk about Mary Toft. And I'm like, who is that? And you're like, oh, you don't know?
You don't know this woman?
Please.
I also just have to preface that I don't know where I learned about the story, but I did learn about it like a few years ago. And me and my husband and our friends, we love to play Jackbox on Xbox. It's like there's like a fun trivia game that they have. And this was actually a question. And I remember being in my friend's house and we were all sitting on the couch and we were playing. And this came up and I was like, oh my God, everybody should know this. And nobody knew it. And I was the only one. And I was like, am I the weird one?
Yeah. Maybe.
But anyway, so Mary Toft, she was a 25-year-old servant who was married to a journeyman clother, Joshua Toft. Mary and Joshua lived in Godalming near Gulliford in Surrey. In September of 1726, it was reported that Mary had given birth to several rabbits. Mary had a miscarriage about a month earlier, but had still appeared to be pregnant. On September 27th, 1726, she went into labor. She was accompanied by her neighbor, Mary Gill, and her mother-in-law, Anne Toft. And it was reported that she had given birth to something that resembled a liverless cat.
That threw me in the article. What the hell is a liverless cat?
Yeah, I love going back and like hearing accounts from like the 1700s, 1800s, because like the words that they use to describe things just to throw me off.
Yeah.
So the family called obstetrician John Howard, and when he made a house call to Mary, he was presented with more animal parts that Mary had allegedly given birth to. Over the next month, Howard recorded that she had begun producing a rabbit's head, legs of cats, and 9 dead baby rabbits.
And this is something Jess presented to me. Like, oh.
Everybody knows about this.
Oh, yeah. So John Howard sent letters to some of the most well-known doctors and scientists of the time explaining what he had just witnessed. King George I even dispatched 2 men of his own to investigate, Nathaniel St. Andre, who was a Swiss surgeon and anatomist, and Samuel Molyneux, who was a secretary to the Prince of Wales. At this point, Mary had become something of a local celebrity. Mary moved from her home in Godalming to be nearer to Guildford to be monitored more closely by John Howard. And on November 15th, 1726, St. Andre and Molyneux arrived to Howard's home and were immediately told, oh, guess what? Mary's in labor again with her 15th rabbit. Toft ended up giving birth to several rabbits in St. Andre's and Molyneux's presence.
The doctors examined the lungs and other organs of these rabbits, which showed that they most likely did not develop in Mary's uterus.
What?
Spoiler alert.
What? Are you sure?
I think I'm sure. So St. Andre stayed convinced, though this was a genuine medical anomaly.
Why did he want it to be true? Is what I want to know.
Probably because their lives were so boring. They're like, wow, this is the only exciting thing that's happened this week.
I don't know. Crazy shit was happening back in the 1700s. But clearly. Oh my God.
He believed something supernatural was occurring and took some rabbit specimen back to the king and the Prince of Wales in London. The story of Mary quickly spread through London, and the king sent another man to investigate. Circus Allers, who was a German surgeon. Allers examined Mary and witnessed several rabbit births. However, unlike St. Andre, he was not convinced because he's a doctor.
I mean, freaking Saint Andre he's a surgeon right? He's a Swiss surgeon and anatomist, and he was like, he probably just wanted to be like the first to discover something crazy.
He probably wanted it to be true because he was like, oh my God, I could name this after myself.
Is this the thing you want to be named after?
So Allers examined one of the rabbits and found dung pellets in the rectum of one of the found dung pellets in the rectum of one that contained corn, hay, and straw, which proved that this rabbit had lived outside of Mary, and at some point, Allers reported to the king, he thought this was a hoax and that Mary and Dr. Howard were working together.
It's a conspiracy now. So meanwhile, Nathaniel St. Andre was still convinced that this was a genuine anomaly. And he contacted Sir Richard Manningham, a prominent doctor and midwife of upper-class society in London. Manningham witnessed one of Mary's births to what he believed looked like a hog's bladder. And he was
rude.
What?
That's so rude.
Rude to the hog bladder? Are you saying that it was a baby that just was really ugly? Is that what you're saying? Oh my God. He was unconvinced. However, Howard and St. Andre convinced Manningham to keep his doubts to himself until they had more evidence that this was fraud, because they were trying to save face. They wanted to save their reputation in the medical community because they were both so committed to this being a real thing. And after Allers had publicly stated that this was a hoax, they were kind of fighting for their reputation. So the story got the attention of the media and became a national sensation. And interest in unusual oddities and, quote, monstrosities was high in the 18th century. And so it's not hard to imagine that maybe the Tofts, who had low income, may have been trying to do this to make money off of it, to, like, if people were willing to see something this crazy and pay for it, it might have been. That was what a lot of people believed was happening.
Mary did have an explanation for her strange births, however. She claimed...
Just wait for this.
Just you wait.
Mm-hmm.
She claimed in April 1726, she was working in a field and was startled by a rabbit. She and another woman ran after the rabbit and they were unable to catch it. She also attempted to catch another rabbit and was unsuccessful. Later that night, she had dreamed of being in a field with 2 rabbits in her lap. She woke up in a sick fit that lasted until morning. She claimed for the following months she had a strong desire to eat rabbit, but being poor, they couldn't afford it. St. Andre published his account of the Mary Toft affair in a short narrative of extraordinary delivery of rabbits in December 1726. Respected anatomist and midwife Dr. James Douglas read this and stated it was nothing but a collection of impossibilities.
So something called maternal impressions, according to medical theory of the time, and again, this is 18th century, was something to explain birth defects and congenital disorders at this time. And it was similar to what Mary claimed to be experiencing. So the theory is that emotional stimulus experienced by a pregnant person could influence fetal development. And mental illnesses such as schizophrenia or depression were believed to have developed this way at this time, at this point in time. And for instance, if a woman experienced sadness or depression during pregnancy, it was believed that the depressive tendencies would be passed on to her fetus. So a famous example of people believing this was the case of Joseph Merrick, the quote, elephant man, who claimed that his condition was the result of his mother being frightened by an elephant.
On November 29th, 1726, Mary was brought to London to be observed more closely. St. Andre contacted Dr. James Douglas to observe one of Mary's births. When Dr. Douglas arrived, there was already a crowd of doctors and medical men watching in probably one of those like observatory things that I would love to experience one day.
We gotta wear
but
a mustache.
I couldn't because I'm a woman.
Sit on each other's shoulders with our mustaches.
Dr. St. Andre was hoping that Dr. Douglas would validate the rabbit births. However, Douglas believed it all to be fraud. By the following day, opinion was divided among medical men who had gathered there, and Mary gave birth to no more rabbits, but still appeared to be in labor. She had such bad infections that she had fits that made her lose consciousness.
Like, oh my God, just the germs and infection happening.
I know.
So it wasn't long after this that a porter where Mary was being seen was caught sneaking a rabbit into her room. The man confessed to Dr. Douglas and Dr. Manningham that Margaret Toft, who was Mary's sister-in-law, had asked him to bring them the smallest rabbit he could find. Douglas and Manningham wanted to get Mary to confess her guilt and incriminate herself, and the next day, Mary went into labor and produced nothing. And that evening, a justice of the peace, Sir Thomas Clarges, was called to where Mary was staying. The porter who had been sneaking in the rabbit swore a deposition, and Clarges took Mary into custody. Over 2 days, there was much pressure put on Mary to confess. However, it wasn't until Dr. Manningham threatened to perform a painful experimental surgery on her to see if she was truly formed differently than other women that she finally confessed. On December 7th, 1726, Mary Toft confessed to manually inserting dead rabbits inside of herself and allowing them to be removed as though she birthed them. Yep. Yep.
Everyone knows about this.
They do now.
In several following confessions, she implicated a mysterious stranger, the wife of the organ grinder, her mother-in-law, and Dr. John Howard. On December 9th, 1726, Mary was charged with being, quote, a notorious and vile cheat.
That is one of my favorite parts of this story is what they charge people with. There's another charge coming later, but like just being you're a notorious and vile cheat. That
How dare you?
That kind of slaps. Like that is, yeah. Sorry.
And she was sent to Bridewell Prison. As a result of this whole affair, doctors involved had to try to vindicate their now tarnished reputations because they all believed this was true.
Not just specifically two of them, and one of them was in on it. So just St. Andre, I believe, was like, this is real.
So many Britons were upset that the king had chosen German-speaking physicians and experts to assess the situation, which was made obvious by pamphlets and drawings that appeared after the scandal. And these drawings and pamphlets depicted St. Andre and German court physicians as just plain gullible and charlatans. And Manningham and Douglas had some temporary embarrassment due to their connection to the scandal, but their reputations were recovered. They were fine. St. Andre was not as fortunate, though.
So St. Andre's reputation plummeted, and his patients all eventually left him. So he retired from London and eventually died in poverty in an almshouse in Southampton. So that's like super tragic. But he really just wanted to believe that this was real. So, however, the doctor that was actually implicated in this scandal, as the one who delivered the rabbits, Dr. John Howard, had to answer to charges of being concerned in the, quote, cheat and conspiracy of Mary Toft. But the case against him was dropped, and he remained a respected figure in Guildford. So the guy that believed it was real died in poverty. But the man who was, like, in on the hoax remained a respected figure.
Make that make sense.
I guess because people were like, well, he didn't believe it to be real, at least. This guy believed it to be real. I don't want him to be my doctor. but
Yeah.
still the poor, yeah.
Poor guy.
So the case against Mary herself was also dismissed, not for lack of evidence, but just to prevent like further embarrassment. She spent a few months in jail and then returned to her normal life. And in April 1740, Mary was charged with an unrelated crime of receiving stolen goods and committed to the House of Corrections in Guildford, but was later acquitted. And she eventually died on January 13th, 1763, which is honestly longer than I would expect somebody to live with the kind of activity she was doing for that long. Like that's
Right.
crazy. She didn't die of some kind of crazy infection.
Crazy infection.
Right?
I just want to know, like, her thought process around how this was going to end, because obviously people may or may not have believed her originally, and like it caught on very quickly about this anomaly, but like she was going to get caught. She had to know she was going to get caught. How was she going to get out of it?
I don't know.
Was she just going to be like, oh well, my body's getting old, I can't get pregnant anymore?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the thought process. I clearly would never do this. If you're considering doing this, don't. Like this,
Like, was she trying to make money?
I think that had to be it. She was trying to be like an oddity.
Yeah.
And like have people like, oh, come see the woman who gives birth to rabbits. Like, and I mean, she got attention. I don't know if she got money for it, but she
I don't think
definitely
she got money.
She definitely got the attention of several medical professionals. King George was sending people to go
He was like,
inspect.
I need to see this for myself.
Like, I need to send representatives to see this. Like, oh my God. Yeah,
Yes,
and Jess
this
presented this
is
with
the
me.
story that everybody should know about.
I mean, they will now. And I mean, maybe more people knew about this than I did. I mean, my niche era of medical stuff is a little bit later. 19th century Victorian era is where I read most weird shit about. This is a little early for me, but maybe I need to start reading earlier stuff because this is crazy.
This was a legit
wild.
question in Jackbox, and I was the only one in our friend group that knew about this. And I was like, guys, she gave birth to rabbits. And they were all like, Jess, what are you talking about?
That's insane. It's an insane sentence.
Well, if you have any other weird medical anomalies from 18th or 19th century Victorian era medicine,
Or earlier.
or even
Give
earlier,
us the craziest thing you got.
I want to know the craziest stories. And like we said last week, Alice and I, we're going to start this new thing. I don't even know if we said it. We're going to be presenting each other. Yeah, we said it off air. We're going to be presenting each other with crazy, weird cases for minisodes going next time.
Because like Jess knew about this. I had no idea about this. So if Jess had just presented this to me live on the air, like this story, we would have gotten a lot of funny reactions out of me. So we want that funny content.
Yeah, we're doing this for you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be entertaining.
But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys got a laugh and learned something new. If you did, let me know. Comments. We're on Instagram, Inside the Morgue Pod. We're on TikTok, Inside the Morgue Pod. Send us an email. You can see us over at Young Junk. Hit them up. Watch any other of their shows.
Young Junk's great.
There's some awesome content. But yeah, let us know what you thought of this. And we will see you next time for a brand new dissection. Bye.
Bye.
Young Junk!